we're going to roll right into leg extensions. Now, I feel that leg extensions is very, very important to have as your first exercise. Reason being that following leg extensions, there are other exercises such as squats and leg presses. If not having the knees warm before going into these exercises, it can result into injury or strain. That's why it's very important to have leg extensions first. Now, leg extensions are the bread and butter of the thigh. It hits the outer head of the quadriceps, the mid portion of the quadriceps, and especially the teardrop. Now, there again, I want to emphasize the importance, just as I have the previous exercise that we've done, the importance of using a pyramid principle, starting with a lighter weight and working your way up. Feet to be pointed straight ahead, although some people choose to switch the ankles up to turn the toes out, but I would prefer, and I think it's much safer, to always keep the toes pointed straight ahead or slightly turned in. Okay. Come up, flex the thighs at the top, lower it slowly. Up, flex the thighs at the top, lower it slowly. Way up. Notice he's locking all the way out at the top, and he's coming down in a controlled manner. A lot of us have the tendency to come up and down very fast. You can end up hurting yourself in that way, and the repetition is not as effective. At all times, the mind and the muscle must be linked together. The mind and the muscle must become one in order to make 1 rep equal 2 reps. The squats will help towards promoting growth, especially mass, throughout the entire quadricep and also hamstring region. It hits the 3 quads here in the front, also the thigh bicep, or we sometimes call it the hamstring. Okay? The narrow stance, I feel, is much more effective. It's when coming down, by having a narrow stance, you're going to be able to pull these muscles into play, the inner thigh into play, the inner teardrop, and also the inner and upper thigh into play. It's a very awkward way to do a squat, but I feel it's the most effective way.
Why do some people stand with the board underneath their head?
By using the board, I feel that is incorrect form. A lot of people say, well, I have pain in the lower back. That's why I use the board.
Is it cheating?
It's cheating. It's almost like leaning forward, which is not going to alleviate the problem.
Okay.
What you need to do is lower the weight, start off from the beginning, fresh, clean, learn to use the proper stance, and always the method of putting the heels flat on the floor. When you're doing squats, the heels should remain flat on the floor. Never, when on the way down, should the heels come up off the floor. That is an incorrect way to do squats. You end up putting a lot of stress on the lower back. As I emphasized earlier, the importance of using the belt while doing pressing exercises, especially shoulders, is also very important to use them while doing squats, even more so, because the lower back is involved as well as the thighs. There again, pyramid. Make sure that when you begin, it's a weight that you're able to control. It's not too strenuous on the joints. By now, the knees should be partially warm from doing leg extensions. Okay? Now, what I'm about to do is a narrow stance. This is the type of stance that I've used from day one in order to help develop my thighs to the point that they are now. Keeping the knees pointed straight ahead. Arch the back on the way down, head up at all times. And always gradually go down. Lower the weight in a controlled fashion, not too fast. There again, not too slow.
I notice when you do your squats, you squat down so your thighs are roughly parallel to the floor. I've seen a lot of guys go below parallel. Is that incorrect to do that?
Parallels is enough. To go below parallel it's not necessary, I feel, especially for a taller person. A shorter guy, A-okay, no problem. But you want to always be very careful not to put too much stress upon the joints. If you're going to go below parallel, make sure that you're controlled. Okay. Leg presses are excellent for isolating the thigh muscles. isolating the quadriceps and also the hamstring. Now, what it will enable you to do is to get the most out of each and every repetition. Whereas squats being more or less a power move, you're not able to fully squeeze and flex the thigh at the top of the movement. And there again, leg presses carries a lot less danger than squat does. We're going to use a stance where it's somewhat wider, the toes pointed outward, because what we want to do here is work the inner thigh and the upper thigh muscles. Everything is involved here. We can feel a little bit more in the inner thigh, being that the legs are pointed outward. Up. You want to come down in a controlled fashion. Thighs pointed outward. Flex on the way up. I prefer pushing off on the heels. By doing so, I'm going to be able to squeeze out that little extra at the end of that repetition. Down, squeeze. Exhale. When coming down, you're going to have to let the air out. So we got a blow and a blow, okay? Now to walk onto the stage or just to have an underdeveloped leg which lacks the thigh bicep or a hamstring is not what you would want to call a complete lower body. So it's very important to make sure that you're well equipped and that you have a good balanced shape to the thigh. And that's why leg curls are so very important. And the hamstring muscle being a somewhat harder muscle to stretch and warm up, you want to start with a lighter weight, just as we did on the other exercises, and gradually increase the weight. You don't want to ever start too heavy on this. You don't want to start down and, lean over and start stretching cold hamstring muscles. You want to go ahead and do your first set, which would be a very light set, and then gradually increase. And stretch the hamstrings as you increase the weight while pyramiding. Okay. First, you want to get yourself situated. And you want to come up and lower it in a slow, controlled fashion. When you're coming up, you want to flex the bicep, the hamstring bicep at the top of the movement. Let it come down in a controlled, gradual manner. Up. There we go. Always using good form and control. Okay. Now, upon completion of the set, what you want to do is make sure that you stretch the hamstring just a little. Don't overdo it because they're still cold. We've just completed the first set. Going into the second and third set, you want to stretch them just a little bit more as you gradually go on, okay? Now, the reason for stretching the hamstrings is to help to lengthen them out. It helps to add length to the hamstring, and more or less keep them loose. Because this exercise is very, very concentrated, and you can get a little crampy back there. So you want to stretch them out at all times. Okay? Just a little. Just rock from side to side, just a little. Just some slight toe raises. Okay? Don't overdo it, especially if this is very new to you. You can have a complete upper body, nice taper and so forth, and perfectly balanced thighs, but then if you lack calf, you can forget about it. The physique is not complete unless everything flows together, and that includes especially the calf muscles. Now, the best exercise for developing overall mass in the calves are the standing toe raises. Now, this is the bread and butter and a very basic exercise that is necessary in order to bring about the type of development. Just as squats, just as barbell curls are the basics for legs and arms, standing toe raises are the basics for building the calves, okay? When doing toe raises, what you want to do is first determine what type of stance is the most effective. I advise using a narrow stance with the toes pointed slightly in so that you'll be able to work the outer heads of the calf muscles just as well as the inner heads. For the most part, you never have a problem developing the inner head of the calf. It's normally always the outer head that causes the problem. So I'll give the first example here. Okay? So now that we're set, the top position, you want to squeeze the toes, let it down slowly, get a good stretch at the bottom. Come up, flex, down slowly. Come up, flex, down slowly. Come up, flex, down slowly. Okay? Upon completion of each and every repetition, it's very important to slowly stretch the calf muscles. By stretching them, you'll be able to elongate the calf. If you don't stretch them out, it can develop into a high calf. If the calves are already high, they will remain high. So you want to stretch that muscle out. What you'd like to do is place the feet on the toe piece of the calf machine and pivot back and forth, shifting the weight on each calf, gradually stretching them out. You don't want to overstretch them on the first set. Stretch them between sets would be much better. Never stretch a cold muscle.
Lee, can you work calves more often than other muscle groups?
Well, a calf is a stubborn muscle. I will say that to work the calf 4 times a week, it's no problem. Whereas major body parts, such as the back, the shoulders, the biceps, and so forth, the upper body, the thighs even, could only be worked effectively twice a week. Now, the calf, being a very high tolerance muscle, needs more than a 2-day-a-week workout in order to stimulate them. In that respect, I would advise training them every other day. I like to throw that day in between because by having that rest day there, the calf is at least able to recover, and then using more or less a shock technique. All of a sudden, it's, oh, this guy's not going to train me tomorrow, so I'm going to relax. And you get a much better pump. I feel it's much more effective. All right?